Costa Rica had a rule where there's no capital gains 10 years ago when I first came here. So I was like, well, yeah, I just want to buy a big piece of property, and every year my plan is to sell one little piece of property every year, and with that money I can live every dream I have. I mean, I'm not looking for a helicopter or a yacht, but having a nice sale of a piece of property that's coming in every year makes makes it possible. I grow pretty much most of my own food. I don't have a mortgage, so once I got here, I started living sustainably. I live out in the country, so we have plenty of room for growing foods and orchard. The stuff we have here is based around nature, just like many of the neighbors used to do back, like when their grandparents and their parents used to own the land here. They didn't have a car to go to the supermarket, or most of my neighbors today still don't have cars. There's probably more horses that are used for transportation in my neighborhood than people with cars today.
This is the Regenerative Real Estate Podcast. Revitalizing the world together. Welcome to the Regenerative Real Estate Podcast. This is your host, Neil Collins. It is a show that is supported by our work at Latitude Realty. In it, we explore our natural and built environments and how they can be used as a force for good. The show sets out to inspire impactful ideas, meaningful change, human wellness, and ecological restoration through interviews and easy-to-digest conversations. Our guests range from industry leaders to iconoclasts, from both well-known figures to everyday people leading extraordinary lives. This is a show for people looking for education and inspiration on how real estate can be done differently. Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Regenerative Real Estate Podcast. I am super excited to be having this conversation today with Justin Dolan. Justin is in Costa Rica, of all places, at the St. Michael Sustainable Community. And I'm gonna preface this with that before I bring you in, Justin, is like, I went looking for a permaculture meets disc golf inspiration for a project that we're looking at doing, and up pops Justin's development. And I was like, I got to reach out to this person. So it is a pleasure to have you on, Justin. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
So Justin, before we get into your background, you were talking about how you're on the Central Pacific side of Costa Rica. Whereabouts, for those that are more familiar with Costa Rican geography?
Well, if you're on the Central Pacific on the ocean, we're between Jaco and Manuel Antonio. There's two ports there, one in the Manuel Antonio Capos port and then one in Herradura near Jaco. So it's almost dead center in the middle of the country on the Central Pacific on the ocean.
Oh, no, man, lovely. I'm sitting here in the Pacific Northwest where we haven't seen the sun in 4 months. I would much rather be there.
Our summer never ends here. It's summer all year round, every day. Sometimes it rains, but it's always warm and sunny some part of the day.
Oh, what a draw. Justin, tell me, did you grow up in Costa Rica, or what's your background?
No, I kind of bounced around. My dad was Secret Service, and every 5 years we moved, and he stayed with the Treasury Department. He went to undercover customs program for drug enforcement, and then I mostly grew up in New England as a child, and Florida for high school, and then after going to school in Georgia, I bounced around doing hotel management and a lot of different jobs in the hotel business, everything from the general manager to the dishwasher to the maids, the maintenance man, accounting, every job you could find in a hotel and resort I went through while I was in college and shortly thereafter. And, then I gave it all up to become a police officer. I wanted to be a cop. My dad was a federal agent. My uncles were a cop. And I just wanted a life with a little more adventure in it. So I went to police work.
Where was that?
That was in Atlanta. So I stayed in Atlanta probably about 15 years altogether. And, did a lot of stuff in the police department. I got to work as a regular cop, a motorcycle cop, a SWAT team cop. And then my favorite job was as a detective. They're just looking into, investigations into crimes, and I enjoyed it. And then one day I had a really bad day at the office. I got catastrophically injured. I got run over on the interstate while I was chasing down a criminal, and spent 2 years in a wheelchair and in and out of 40 different operating rooms and for procedures over the 2 years that followed. And after that, I wanted to retire, and I wanted to work, but I was never expected to leave the wheelchair. And I was just too badly crippled to be considered a valuable employee. So they let me go, and they gave me a check for like $3,400 because I was just with that police department for a year and a half. And, I needed a way to make money. So I went back into what I knew. I worked for really rich people that developed big hotels. And, when I was coming out of the hospital, I couldn't get the insurance company, even after 2 years, to pay for a wheelchair ramp to get in my house. So, I would buy a house that was undervalued, something that was going to go to foreclosure and only had a little bit of time left in the market. I'd do a short sale with the owner, and I'd buy it. I'd renovate it, make it handicap accessible. And then after living there 2 years, I'd sell it. And I realized, just hiring somebody to renovate a house that I found that was a good value, distressed property that was way, way undervalued, actually made me more money than when I was a police officer. So, every 2 years, I'd renovate a house to make it handicap. I'd move in it, and then I'd sell it 2 years later, and I'd make more money than I'd ever made before, and I'd worked less. So, Costa Rica had a rule where there's no capital gains 10 years ago when I first came here. So I was like, well, I just want to buy a big piece of property, and every year my plan is to sell one little piece of property every year. And, with that money, I can live every dream I have. I mean, I'm not looking for a helicopter or a yacht, but, having a nice sale of a piece of property that's coming in every year makes makes it possible. I grow pretty much most of my own food. I don't have a mortgage. So once I got here, I started living sustainably. I live out in the country, so we have plenty of room for growing foods and orchard. The stuff we have here is based around nature, just like many of the neighbors used to do back, like when their grandparents and their parents used to own the land here. They didn't have a car to go to the supermarket, or most of my neighbors today still don't have cars. There's probably more horses that are used for transportation in my neighborhood than people with cars to this day. And those people, they showed me what they could grow for food and how to grow it. And I learned a lot from them. And then I started studying about, well, what's the best way to grow your food. And I found out ways of introducing basically mycelium into your soil to make your soil a healthier soil that allows the plants to uptake up to 2,000 times more water and nutrients, just because it had a fungus root structure in the ground that gave it tentacles that go into hard rocks and pull out water. So the more I got into looking at how to grow my own food, I guess it was like an addiction. I kept wanting to buy more and more plants and more fruit trees. In the first couple of years, I killed probably more than lived. But over the 10 years I've been planting, I've been collecting. I mean, I'll find something new. And even if I don't have a place to put this thing, I'll buy it and come back and find a place. I've got over 400 different types of plants we cultivate now, from not just for our food, but also medicine, utility, deodorants, toilet paper, shampoo, and tons of medicine. And the way our food is grown, we try to grow it with the highest vitamin and nutritional content possible, like giving it actually real food. Like if you look at a forest in nature, you don't need somebody to go out there and tend to it to make sure it's always watered or always fertilized. The way the system in nature works kind of doesn't need people to interfere with it too much. I mean, we can go in and change our system a little bit to take out things like poison ivy or things that are in the way, where we can put in something more useful. But for the most part, we're on 100 acres here, and I have one gardener and a handyman that take care of it all. And it's amazing the amount of food we can get from a permaculture perennial system, where you plant a fruit tree and you take care of it for a little while, and then after a while it's growing by itself, and the trees around it are fertilizing. We plant trees that fix nitrogen into the ground to help fertilize it. When we go around and clean, we use a chop and drop method. We have a guy with a machete, just chops all the weeds down, and we just put that back in the ground and let it mulch in place. And then for our extra nutrients, we make a bokashi with our cattle. Our cattle has no chemicals for deworming, or like most cattle are injected with the injection of bug spray to keep bugs from biting. It's poisonous, but if you wait 3 months, the officials say it's safe to sell. So we make our spray that goes on the outside of the animals, stuff that's mostly edible, things like garlic, sulfur, a tree called neem, which is a really good tree for insects and bugs. And we also use ombre grande, a really good bitter, which is also, it's a medicinal plant that, back in the day when you have a bartender treating somebody with a hangover, he'd give you some bitters, and these bitters would settle your stomach automatically. Well, it works that same way for the animals, and it also gives a really bitter taste. So the bugs and the bats, the fleas and the ticks, they won't bother our animals. And that external solution of a spray allows us to use the caca, the vaca poo, the cow poo in our gardens without having to put chemicals. Because if you put fungicides in these animals to kill the bad fungus, it also kills the good fungus. And if you look at the excrement of our cows, it'll actually be, bugs will live in it. If you look at cows that have like a lot of chemicals in them or laden with antifungals, like it won't have bugs living in it. And our barn will be, ankle deep in poo and pee. And if you close your eyes, you can't smell the bat. It smells like roses because these little roots for the mushrooms, the fungi actually go in and take all the pathogens and all that smell, and they make it healthy again. They break it down so it can be used in the earth, kind of like fermentation. It is a fermentation of the manure, but we use a starter that actually comes from our forest of beneficial fungus and beneficial microbes. It makes kind of like your gut biome, but in the corral, so you can be standing, over your ankles in cow poo and you won't smell it. But it also takes away things like E. coli, salmonella, and a lot of dangerous things. And then we take this mixture, we put in some biochar, which further allows our microbes to grow and to be resistant against drought. And then we add some rainwater or spring water, and then we put in some unsulfurated sugar to really help grow the microbiome. And I just took a picture a couple of days ago of our mycelium and put on a mycelium webpage, and people were like, they're wondering. A lot of people haven't seen it before, neither have I, because the mycelium is usually something that grows under the ground and it's kind of like the roots. And this mycelium was actually growing up like dreadlocks and hair. It was like so big and healthy. It was just growing like, like, I don't know. I've never seen a mycelium grow this well before. And I think it's just our environment is it's pure. It doesn't have things that are gonna interfere with it. Herbicides, pesticides, fungicides, stuff we're gonna be spraying in our garden it's all natural.
Justin, let me jump in here because I'm trying to get the story straight. And we do have to go back to Atlanta just so I can really get clear. So you're utilizing buying properties, fixing them up for your needs, undervalued, hopefully taking the home tax exemption rule when you're living in the state. Like, at what point did you say, okay, I want to go to Costa Rica? And were you looking to do the same thing there, or were you just looking for a piece of property there?
I was just looking to live here. I just figured I'd come here and live. And, I was using the exemption. If you live in your house for 2 years, at the time it was 2 out of 5 years. So every 2 years I'd move, I'd sell my house. And because it was my residence, I gotta get that money tax free, which allowed me to put more money into the other houses. And I think now people could do that even if they have a corporation with a 1031 tax exchange, where if you want to build your wealth without paying the taxes right in front, you can put your property in a corporation, keep everything running through the corporation. Then when you sell that property, get a CPA and a tax advisor, and they can show you how to use that corporation to buy another property where it's not really taking a dividend out into your pocket where you're going to be taxes. The money goes in the corporation to build the corporation up, where you pay the tax at the end instead of while you're building your wealth.
So what did it look like whenever you're going to Costa Rica? Were you looking for a certain size of property or a certain location? What was the criteria that you were going after?
When I came to Costa Rica, I spent 4 months and I went to every single part of the country. I looked at every single thing that was for sale. And it wouldn't have mattered if it was a hotel or a farm or a defunct golf course, which is what I got now. The property I got now was a golf course. It was just in, disrepair, and the management was horrible. And, it was the best deal and had the potential for the best ocean views. So, I just kind of took the best opportunity that came along. I think it's good to keep your options open. Don't focus like I have to buy just a single family home. Like maybe you run across something that's like a multi-unit and you might not think you're ready, but it's the same basic principles. Just make sure you have a budget and you have your financing down and a way to pay for it. And an exit strategy, I guess, is really important too. Even when you start out, have your exit strategy from the get-go.
Yeah. So it sounded like you're interested in growing your own food. But at what point did you think, hey, there's potential to do something bigger here? Like when did that really start taking shape with the property?
I think that the first thing that really made the property take shape was the medicinal herbs. When I was in the United States, I had 1 month where I had a pharmacy bill over $200,000 worth of drugs when I was in the hospital. And even when I left the hospital, I was taking so many drugs so often, and drugs for the side effects of the drugs, and I wasn't really feeling better. And I went through all of the you know the the modern medical treatments, and I felt like I really wasn't making as much progress as I should. So I stopped using fentanyl cold turkey, and just started eating right and using for anti-inflammatory things like turmeric and black pepper, ginger, and we make a spray on the farm that I use called it's a Saragundi tincture, and it takes away inflammation right away. And these things are excellent for health, and you can find studies in other countries about like what's Saragundi being tested for. Like right now, it's used for arthritis, and it's also being tested for lung cancer in vitro. So far, it's like 99, 100% in vitro, or in vitro. That still haven't done the human testing yet. But I've been using it for years, just on myself for the pain and inflammation, and I've been staying away from the pharmaceutical drugs and saving money. And then you know, a lot of these medicines are food. I mean, our food is our medicine here. So if you eat healthy and you stay away from things that make you sick, you really won't need to buy these medicines for high blood pressure, diabetes. And if you have diabetes now, if you change your diet, you can cure your diabetes with a diet change. But I think in the U.S. that we're not really going that way. We're even having associations that are like, oh, we're the association for people with diabetes, and they'll be advertising things like shrimp wraps with bacon on them and things that we know are not good for diabetes, just because their partners that give them the funding are saying, look, we need you to push this and that. And it's that whole milk does a body good gone wrong thing. It's like we listen to advertising more than we listen to our own logic and research. What's the healthiest alternative for me? People need to get out and look and find out what is their best way of being healthy and their best way of living. And for me personally, it's by not getting sick and taking care of myself and staying away from processed foods and a lot of sugar. And I think it works. In the last couple of weeks, I decided I'm going to go on a diet. I'm turning 50 this year, so I think, well, I'll lose 50 pounds for my 50th birthday. And in the first 2 weeks, I was down 20 pounds.
Wow,
I mean,
that's incredible.
well, I did some too. I first did a juice cleanse, then 5 days of just water fasting, no eating for 5 days. And now I do intermittent fasting with like a healthier diet and a little keto mixed in there. But if you just look into the ways that other people have gone forward in the past, you can see all the mistakes they've made and see the things they've done well and things that have worked. And I just try and copy what the people have gone for me and done ahead of time. And with the plants and the sustainable community, it's been important to find a lot of really good systems, because there's a lot of areas you go to the whole community being sustainable and regenerative. You need people that know construction and people that know, edible landscaping and plants and botany and medicine. And, then you have to have a way to put it all together where the community is going to come together too. Because I think, another thing in our future that people are really going to look for, especially now, is a community when they go to a community. Like right now, or up until now, people that I knew that would look for a community to live in there, the first thing I'd look at if they had kids, like, well, what are the schools like? And now people are like, well, what's the life like all the way around? And if we homeschool, what's the homeschool situation like is another big one too. I get a lot of people that move to Costa Rica saying, look, how do you homeschool? How do you do everything from yourself, from the community? And, it's possible. But I think it's good to have that intention when you set your community, say, look, we want to have food, we want to have community. And I think for regenerative agriculture and communities, if you want to attract the market segment with children and kids, all you need is really a school and some really good food and no GMOs or toxic agrochemicals. And I think that in itself would be a quick way to sell a community. Our community, it's where I live, and we take the pace of nature about everything here. Like we plant slow and we grow slow, and we do a slow food and slow development. Each person that moves in and buys a lot, well, we take a whole year to see where the sun's flowing over the property, where the shade's at, where the wet spots are, where the dry spots are. And we try a couple plants in those spots, and we make sure the plants grow well. And then after it's already all planted, my property is good to go. Then I'll give it to somebody else and just hope they take care of it.
Well, let's talk about your community. So you have St. Michael's Sustainable Community. You bought the 100 acres. When did you start opening it up for other people to come live on the property?
Well, the first people that came were my family. It was really, my family came down here and they started to build next to me and live with me. And, they were the first couple of years. And, then shortly thereafter, my parents, they're an older couple and they wanted a huge house for some reason. And their house was like 6,000 square feet. And, it had a rainwater collection roof, which is good for all that square footage and lots of rainwater capacity and an art studio in it, but it was just way too much for them. So we built a 2-bedroom living roof house for them, and we sold their huge property to a nonprofit for sustainability for their headquarters.
Wow. That's very cool. And so your parents get out there and
parents, and then friends started coming. They either buy a property outright or they'd start just like pay me per month. They're like, look, I don't have the money now, but I'll just give you a little each month for like as long as I can, and then just when I get the money, I'll pay it off. And now's the point where after 10 years, some of those people have been paying like, oh well, I got this low price 10 years ago, I've been paying against it. I've only got a little left to pay. So now those people are actually building their houses on it too. One of my best friends is out here starting construction. Two of them right now are starting construction now just because they've had their land for 9 years and for like 3 years. So they're ready to just make the move. I mean, COVID has pushed a lot of people away from the cities and into a life where they have, a little more freedom to go outside and a little less, restrictions. Like our community has, a community, and we have, entire disc golf course, nature trails, a nature reserve. There's, bike trails, horseback riding trails, a place to go play pool with your family or friends. We have a place to throw axes and knives, and there's just stuff to do here. Swimming pools and and events. We still get together, just for small little events with the family and stuff. And I've got 6 kids, so on average, every 2 months, I've got at least one birthday party to go to.
And that's why I love that you're still calling it a country club. On the video that I saw, it's a disc golf country club, and I love that one because I'm not a big golfer, and now that you get into soil biology and you just realize how catastrophic and poisonous that golf courses are. And I just lost all our golfer listeners out there. But really,
it's a solution. I mean, one problem now is country clubs and golf courses are going under pretty fast. I mean, there's a lot of people with money that are playing more, but overall, there's a lot of country clubs that just might not have the millions of dollars to pay for the chemicals, the water, the maintenance, and all that stuff. And disc golf is a very, very inexpensive sport, especially compared to golf. I mean, disc golf, you need basically a Frisbee. That's like $10 or $25. You get the top of the line one. That's all you need. No special clothes or cleats or, that's for $10, you're in the game. And the rounds are usually really inexpensive at like a public park, or, even at the private places, not that expensive. And, our course tries to take back the country club. I lived in a country club in Jacksonville Golf and Country Club. And, they're great, but they're also really exclusive, and, they're really not that good for the environment. So it's kind of like a tongue in cheek, like, we're a country club, and, we have the club, and you can't say that the country clubs are more country than us. So, they can't give us much flack on being a country club, because we have a true club where people come together in the same manner as the ball golf, but we also have, we actually take the country into consideration and try and protect the country and treat the country as, our Mother Earth, instead of just something to have as little grass and as short as possible and green as possible, even if I just spray paint it.
So what gave you the idea of doing a disc golf course over just using that space for more vegetables or food forests or anything like that?
Well, I got to say, it came down to money. I've never played around to disc golf here. I can't. I've got one leg that's paralyzed. My back was broken. My hip was broken 9 places. I just can't walk very, very well or far, or even up and down steps or ride a bike. But there's a free grant, and this could be a little tip for all your listeners. Anybody wants to start a disc golf course, the PDGA, the society or the group that manages all disc golf courses, has a program. It's called the Marco Polo program. They want to spread disc golf as far and wide as they can, so they will actually give you a grant to build a disc golf course. So I just wrote them an email, said, look, I think disc golf is great for our sustainable community. We could build it according to your specs here. And, and they just sent the money, and, we built a disc golf course. It was that easy. It was really, and they work with, it wasn't like a government grant. I think it was all like 10 minutes of an email, and
So this is a critical question, and it's selfish because I'm going through the same process. But the question that I had whenever I found your site was, is disc golf the activity simpatico with regenerating land? Like, are the discs hitting trees and chopping them down on accident? Are they
Well,
hitting animals?
they hit trees and they don't chop them down so much as cause damage. But I think when it comes to causing damage in the world, it's almost always the same thing. It comes to people. You know, if you have people that are disc golfers that are, you know, that are disruptive and damaging the property, well, that causes more problems. But our yeah, our course is limited to the number of people that use it just because we're in Costa Rica and there's not that many people around us that play disc golf. From our communities, probably only got around on the busiest days, maybe 50, 60 people in it. So there's not a lot of people playing disc golf every day. And yeah, our disc golf isn't part of our food forest that's managed. So, you know, our disc golf is also kind of like, you know, in the middle of the food forest, and on the outskirts is all the fruit trees. So if somebody's playing disc golf, they can see like, oh, well, jackfruits are ready on this side, zapotes are ready on this side. So, you know, our playtime can actually also be time to kind of do a little observation in the forest and see what's ready and what needs treatment or what might have an issue or need some pruning or care. So it can be, but I don't know. It's a tough question. I mean, I think it goes with it well, but you know, I guess if you had no activity, it'd be better for the forest. The least amount of people walking through the forest has the least amount of compaction. But we have one area which is kind of set for people to get them in the woods and make them motivated and kind of get them inspired to do stuff like a food forest. So I'd say, yeah, it's definitely positive. And then once you compare it next to regular golf, it's like, well, it's like way, way, way better. It's complete opposite of regular golf when it comes to, you know, turning your soil that was once covered in chemicals to a soil that's only covered in chemicals made for, you know, from by Mother Nature, chemicals that we know are the minerals from the rocks, the nutrients from the animals, the nutrients from the forest, and the nutrients from the air coming down. So
Yeah.
yeah, it works out good, and
It's
it's good to have in a community. I think.
okay. Say that one more time.
I think it's really good, and it's even important to have some sort of recreation in your community. People like to have things to do. If you have a neighborhood that you don't need a vacation to go away from your neighborhood, you know that's the kind of life to have. I mean, every time you go on vacation, you burn jet fuel, money, time. If you have a home where you have all the things that you like doing, you know, really close by, you don't need to spend money to fly to Costa Rica, ride horses, or go surfing or fishing. Like we're right next to the best fishing and surfing in the world as well. So, you know, one of the main things here is I wanted a place that I wouldn't need a vacation from. And with 6 kids, I really need that because traveling with 6 kids and having to get 6 COVID tests and 6 extra insurance policies for them and paying for the extra stuff is just, you know, it stopped us from traveling even before all those extra things having the children. So yeah.
What do you do for education? I think that is a very critical question, and it's interesting the rise of people looking to reshape their lives due to COVID. That it was that spark that's like, you know what, I'm gonna get the hell out of here. And I hear that so often, but that factor of holding people back of what am I going to do about schools or what am I going to do about work? Like what is it one that you do for your kids and the other community members? Like how have they figured that out?
You know, one of the things we're blessed with is having like 5 professors and teachers actually in the community. So we have people that have experience in, you know, in education with degrees in education that teach mathematics. And, you know, we have a college professor and we have 2 music professors. So, you know, we integrate the homeschool with it's kind of like a group that gets together all the homeschool people, not just in the community, but like in the whole Central Pacific area, where all the kids get together and do like lessons together. And then the uh, the homeschool group where we all meet together has like testing for the kids for their grades and make sure the children get their certificates for each grade level so they can transfer to high schools and colleges in the future. And yeah, one day I'd like to have our own school here one day soon, just because we have a lot of really good teachers. We have our own school right here on site.
That's incredible. And what about work? What's the main way that people are able to move, become expats and
Well,
continue?
we have college professors that work. You know, they teach classes from online from their houses here. My parents live here. They're retired. We have a mortgage broker that works at our house here. We have a chiropractor who works kind of out of his house and, makes house calls and does retreats. And, he's just starting to build his house here now. And some of the other people are from Canada. And this year they're on sabbatical, but they want to find a way to make an income and stay here. So, they'll probably work online, or, maybe they'll join our school as teachers because, one of them's a teacher, one's a banker. I had one on the top of my head. It was, we have somebody who's retired. We have another guy who works like military contracts for security, goes back and does a little work here and there, comes in and out. He'll be here next month. Another retired couple that does, she does like plant medicine and I guess videos on how to use medicinal plants. And let's see, there's one more I'm trying to think of. It slipped my mind right now.
Wow. So everybody's making it work in their own form or fashion.
Food. Like we have all these neighborhoods that all have, beyond organic food. So we have one spot now where one person's going to actually manage the food sales for the CSA. So if you have lots of oranges and grapefruits on your property, you can take the ones that you want. He'll take the rest and sell them for you and give you the proceeds, because we have a neighborhood full of just farmers, basically.
How did you divide up the 100 acres? Like, what is the physicality of land planning and community building look like?
The St. Michael Sustainable Community has a country club in the middle of it. And the country club's a private entity with a golf course, with stables, with the facilities for nurseries. And we're building a yoga deck right now and a gym. It has a pool and guest houses, modern tree house. It has an example of a house made out of trash for Rob Greenfield. It's a really beautiful, cute house, but it's all made out of stuff that was thrown away. And so that's one business entity. And then we have an eco village right next door to that, where people can get a smaller piece of property and they get a share of the whole sum of the it's like 2.5 acres of eco village. So there's common gardens where everybody splits up the cost of having a garden, and they also split up the proceeds of all the fruit and vegetables and hardwood trees. We grow Ron, Cristobal. Hardwoods are an extreme danger of extinction because they're really beautiful, strong hardwoods, stuff you might find on a Bentley dashboard or a violin or a really high-end pistol grip. So we grow a lot of those trees and put them close together because sometimes trees die or something happens. So as the years go on, it's not illegal for us to cut them. We get the permission. The trees are close together. We take the worst looking trees and we cut those out, and it kind of gives the bigger trees a little more space and gives us a chance to harvest a little bit of really high-end expensive wood in addition to our produce and utility plants.
Oh, that's incredible.
And then around the eco village and around the country club is titled property, like just individual farms, at least 1.5 acres, where each farm has their own title, their own property, and they can choose whatever they want to grow. They, every time we get something to plant, it gives us a ton more seeds. We spread those seeds on all the land around us. So as time goes on, each property just starts blowing up with tons and tons of food. It's really a slow process, but it's a really inexpensive process that has a really, like, you can see your value grow. You plant a seed one day, and then 10 years you get, 200 jackfruits a year out of your tree at like $5 a pound.
That's incredible. Yeah. What did you have to do in order to lay it out where, okay, the eco village is here, this is how many home sites there are, you've got further out sites? Like, did you plan that out, or did you bring in a surveyor for that?
Well, there was already a plan for the country club, with the original country club that was here with the site. So I just took a couple lots and put them together for the eco village in the middle, and a couple lots for the country club. So we put those together, and the other lots, I tweaked them out maybe a little bit with the lines for where they should be, based on each lot should have like a really nice view. Almost every single lot around our country club and eco village has an excellent ocean view. So all those lots, we picked a nice spot for having one house on each one of them. And then the land that was not as good for the view, that's where our gardens and our orchards will be. So wow. I think the view for us was the main deciding factor for the property. When you have a view of 180 degrees of the ocean, it's a lot easier to say, look, here's your next home.
Yeah. Does it operate the same way as a country club would, with like an HOA structure that people pay into?
Not really HOA. I've never liked HOAs. I don't really like, we're also kind of really libertarian, and you can kind of if you want to be in the country club, you can be in the country club. If you don't want to be in the country club, you don't have to be here. The country club is kind of more of a CSA, where if you join the country club, you pay like a monthly fee, and that gives you like use of the pool, the gym, the trails, the yoga studio, and also get half off on your food. So, every week you can order your food and you get a discount on your food with the country club. And I think, our HOA, well, not HOA, our fee for the country club, I think it's like $39 or $45 a month for like a small house. And you can play as much disc golf as you want, and you get the trails and nature reserve. And
hey everybody, this is Neil. We are going to get back to this great conversation in just 1 second. But I think it's fair to say that right now we are facing some pretty unprecedented challenges in the 21st century. I mean, you name it, environmentally, socially, economically, we've got some big problems that we need to overcome. And that's why, for me personally, and the people that work with us at Latitude, we want to dedicate our time and our energy so that we are not only working to put food on the table and a roof over our heads, but also make the world a better place. And so if you are at all interested in combining your sustainability values with a very powerful financial model of real estate, then I highly encourage you to check out what we are doing at Latitude. We are creating something truly special with a tribe of change agents that for now is working across North America. And hopefully one day in the future, with you coming on board, we can be working across the globe. So please check us out. You can go to www.chooselatitude.com, or you can find us on social media at latitude.realty on Instagram, and we are also on Facebook. Okay, let's get back into it. So you've got this community that's oriented around food and permaculture, and with the country club. Is it something that you had envisioned? Like, do you want to continue to go down that route of developing this into a more robust country club?
Well, my plan is, I've got, enough properties. Like every 2 years, I sell a property, and that's the money I live off. And when I get older, my kids will take over the country club. Well, my wife's already taken it over now, and they can manage the country club. It's not really a big money maker having a disc golf course. I mean, I think if you're looking to make money, the disc golf course, I don't think there's really any of them that I know of that actually are doing well for making money. But they're just so cheap. I mean, you really don't have to spend much money at all to make it. So I think the value from that just comes from having a place where we can be outside in nature, and it's not really a money maker. But the kids, they can also they can take over the food sales, and we also do things like ecstatic dances, full moon parties to learn about medicinal plants, maybe a course how to cook for diabetes, how to cook for cancer, different types of remedies you can make for plants, and ethnobotanical classes here. And there's a lot of opportunities to make use of the country club as an educational facility. I think our future will go to probably a maximum how much food we can produce on 100 acres, and then become probably an educational facility where we actually just go out and teach people how to make mycelium, how to change your environment to make it, a cooler environment. One of the things we teach here is microclimates. If you have a house and you're in some place that's really hot, like we are, I mean, you can make your whole house into an air conditioner and save on your bills and make your house, a much better investment for the long term by a little bit of initial design that plans your house out for the microclimate and plans to build the microclimate.
Who's doing the teaching or the building? I'm curious. Like, if I was to go and buy a lot whenever you do release one, and I wanted to build a house, who designs it? Who comes and builds it?
Well, all the properties, like all the land I've owned, I've been planting for 10 years. So it's pretty much got tons of plants on it already. And for design here, I do all the sustainable architecture for free. Like if you want to live here and you want to design, you can build your own house, and I'll come out there and I'll go over the plans with you and your architect and explain, like, well, this is how we can make a biodigestion, take your black water, recycle it, and put it into something that's actually going to make us a floor cleaner. Here's how we can use your gray water, put it through a filter and use it in your gardens. How we can take your roof, make a few little changes that aren't expensive, and make it into water collection. So the ways to become sustainable they're not really hard or complex. It's just, you really just need a long list of them. And, I have that list and I can show people how to do it. And I know, the position of the sun. If you want to put solar in your house, I can explain to you, well, the people that have done solar like the roofs that are a little less angled and getting the sun as it goes over from the east to the west. And, it's pretty much up to whoever buys it. I mean, we'll give you as much help as we can for free, and the neighbors will come out here, help bring you plants, and usually, teach you about stuff around the neighborhood. People here just like to, expand upon their knowledge by teaching other people. And, I think, everybody kind of just chips in, kind of like that old Amish community when they raise the barn. Everybody, when you move in, everybody comes in. We have a nice little dinner for you, get to know everybody, and they start helping you out with, not just your gardens here, but another thing, when you move to a whole nother country, when you go to Costa Rica, people have a lot of questions like you. How do I open a bank account? What do I do? Where do I go for my residency? And what kind of lawyer should I use? And how do I even check the National Registry for property stuff? So the community is good to have because, when people move overseas, they have a lot of questions. It's nice having people that, can speak the same language, tell you their experiences, how they learn Spanish, and, where to go for a good burrito or a nice sunset or a pretty park or the waterfall. So it's just good having the community here that really gets the people involved. The sustainability aspect, I think that's simple. People just choose like the sustainability side. We don't advertise, once every year we'll put up maybe an ad on Craigslist or on our Facebook page, and it's usually sold within the first day. And the last 3 houses sold like the first day within 3 days, and before it's even finished. I mean, people really want a community like this. And if this was like a really money-driven operation, if we had teams of construction people to build it, we could build and sell everything in a month. But we have local people that build the houses, and we contract with them, and they understand not just the style of building sustainably, but also like how to build sustainably. We demand that the people, when they build, that they recycle their trash, and they use as many natural products as they can to build it, and stay away from things like styrofoam where it's going to be blowing all over the garden. So we help them out. And we have tons of examples. We have houses that are made out of shipping containers here, a half dozen houses with garden roofs on that really keep the temperature down and look pretty and shade the house. Just about every other house that has a metal roof is used for rainwater collection. We have a modern tree house. The Rob's house I was telling you, made out of trash. It's really beautiful. And we can just give you advice and point you in the right direction. And so
What's
far
so
all
fun
our neighbors.
This conversation is we're hitting on so many different themes of, it's one thing to focus on sustainability with the gray water and the black water and the solar panels and the green roof and the building materials. But really, once you start to bring in that community orientation, like that's what I think a lot of people are now realizing, is that we might be living densely in cities, but it still doesn't mean that we're living in community. And it's almost like you had to take a reset. Like I do not know many, if any at all, rehabbers and property flippers in the United States that are just like, you know what, we're going to put on gray water and black water, and we're going to be really mindful of the materials that are going in there. It's like they've just boiled it down to, we're going to splash and dash some paint and carpets and some new countertops, and like you've transitioned so much from what you're doing in Atlanta to.
Well, I live here too, so that's another thing. Is like the dash. Most builders, they dash and they move away, and most people have if they're building a development, most developers don't want to live in their developments because it's like a hotel. Once you open up, that place never closes. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Your community is going. So people want to have their question answered at 5 a.m, just like they want to have their question answered at 11:30 at night. So it's tough to actually to live in a community where you kind of try to develop it into a certain role, but I think it's also important. And having that community there it's a big challenge, but it's a huge plus as well. I mean, it's really, I've looked at all the sustainable communities, the eco villages, and the history of the farm, and other communities that have gone up and tried to do the natural way of living and have a really community centered approach. And the people is always the toughest element to get in. You might get a really good gardener, but can you get your gardener to get along with the people he's growing his garden vegetables for? And it's getting along with people. I think like right now I'm working on the kind of like a little code on like how everyone treats each other with respect, kind of like arbitrators guidelines for the community. Kind of pushes people into like, look, before we judge somebody, we're going to ask them questions for clarification, understanding. Like that's going to be our first thing. We've got to seek to understand. And I think having a system in place to try and avoid conflicts and do as much peaceful resolution as possible is really important. I think that's one of the things I brought from being a police officer and a hostage negotiator. It's like, you know what? It's way better off, trying to get a peaceful outcome and using a little, verbal judo is what we called it in the police department. They have actually a class called verbal judo where, you can try and bring that person up on that ledge, down from that ledge, and to actually see the logic and to agree that there's another way other than the violent way to fix a problem. That there's all alternative solutions available. I think that's going to be the most important part of our community. That's what I'm working on right now. And I don't know, it's a big
social
challenge.
Permaculture. I tell you, it's probably a little bit harder to set up a food forest and a permaculture design, but on the back end, it just, you're seeing your outputs and your inputs are shooting way down. I would imagine it's the same for really being mindful to develop the community and really keep that forefront. Justin, I got to ask you, if people want to come visit, how do they do that? It sounds like you've got visitors that are coming in and becoming enamored with the place.
Yes. Yeah, they are. The lady who manages our rentals in Desa Butler, like if a community member isn't here, she rents their houses out as well. And the country club has a rental house with a pool, a saltwater pool, living roof that people can come stay in. And we're on the internet under www.stmichaels.com. And you can send her an email on there or a message, and there's more information about what we do as far as, the way we garden and, the way we build our soil and the things we grow. And right now we're growing over 400 different things. So I'm not sure all of them are on there because sometimes we find a new thing. Sometimes things die off. It's a tough list to keep a handle on, but it's always growing.
It sounds like you've really leaned into just a never-ending student role.
You know what? It's kind of crazy. I never looked at it that way, but I've been to a lot of schools. I've been through, the regular, grade school, high school, and I went to regular college. I played football my first college, so I got a degree in communications, public relations, and I ended up with a law degree. And in between, I went to Cornell to study hotel management, and and then between there, in Costa Rica, I spent most of my time studying medicinal plants and holistic veterinary medicine. So I had a lot of really good experience in Costa Rica at the university studying the holistic veterinary medicine. And it's, as an investigator, I always love learning more and finding out more and finding different ways to put it together. So I would say probably every day, I try to learn a couple things, read as much as I can, research as much as I can, and look into it, and then go try them myself. I think, after reading about it, it's just not enough. I have to actually go find those plants. I have to grow them. I have to try them. I have to make the tincture, and I have to test it on myself for one of the animals to make sure and it's crazy because they really do work. And some of the stuff, it's like our modern medicine says there's if you look it up, there's no other way to treat a hernia other than surgery. And I had a baby bull with a hernia, and I'm like, well, I mean, I've got a surgical kit here, but the home veterinary course is not really kind to the animal. So like, unless it's not needed, I don't want to do any surgeries or any stitches. So I was checking out different ways of treatment for a hernia for these cattle, and we grow tobacco leaves. And tobacco is a horrible plant for killing people. It kills 1 out of 3 of everyone's users, but there's also medicinal uses in like shamanic practices and using as a pesticide. But for this hernia, there's a way that you can actually treat a hernia with tobacco. And it's a funny story because we had an intern here. We had a apprenticeship program before COVID, and she's like, I want to learn everything I can about the animals. I was like, okay, well, good. We have a hernia on a cow. I'm going to look up ways to treat it. And, tomorrow we're going to go give it a suppository. And she had no idea what a suppository was. So, gave her some gloves and the rolled up tobacco leaf and some olive oil. And she's like, okay. So I stick it in his mouth. I was like, no, I don't. Suppository means it goes on the other side. She was a good sport. Didn't miss a beat. She's like, okay. And it was so amazing. I mean, she stuck that rolled up tobacco leaf up there, and like in a couple minutes, you could see him just kind of like rumble and shake, and just had like this volcanic diarrhea, and the hernia pulled back through the muscle. It's all his intestines just came inside and constricted, pulled inside the muscle. We just taped him up with some of that medical ace bandage wrap that's elastic around his around the section, and he healed by himself after a couple weeks in the corral without any surgery. And
yeah, you saved yourself a lot of money too, and that's something that I think is quite particular about what you're doing, is that most people think that medicine comes out of a pill jar, and it's enabled by a system that is looking to take the money out of your pocket, and in exchange will fix what's going on. But
that's true. And in that, about 1 out of 4 of those medicines is actually just a plant. They've just processed that plant down and put it into a pill form, and most of the other ones now, we're actually getting away from medicine that was coming from plants. They used to come from plants, and they'd take the medicine extract out of the plants. Now with chemicals, they just synthesize it. And when you look at plant medicine, a plant has not just that one compound. It has like 100 to 2,000 different compounds that are chemical compounds. They're really small fractures or fractions of the percentage of the useful and non-inert parts of the plant. And it seems those parts of the plants in many drugs actually stop the side effects. If you take a whole plant for a remedy, it has no side effects. Where if you take the same plant that's been reduced to a pill form and processed, it then has more side effects than if you just took the plant naturally.
Wow, I've never heard that. That's incredible. So what kind of medicinals are you usually going to? Like, what? I'm sure you've got hundreds, if not thousands, on the property. But what are ones that you really like to point out to people?
Oh, my favorite is probably Dormalona. I think I have some here. I got a little section of the ones I make. Dormalona is a plant. It's a very interesting plant. If you touch the plant leaves, they'll all close up. And the plant it's a narcotic, but it also has this wound healing ability. One time I had a broken tooth, and the dentist went there to fix. I had to give me some stitches, and I think I had a bone graft. And after the dentist, I started putting the Dormalona. It takes away the pain because it's a narcotic, but it also has really good wound healing properties. So I went back in 3 days, it was nearly completely healed. My dentist never seen something that healed something so fast and so well in your mouth. And that's probably one of my favorites. And you can take it. You can't sleep. It's a really good plant to sleep. But like a lot of the drugs in the pharmacy, it could be something you could become dependent upon if you take too much of the sleeping drug because it's strong. Other ones I like that we grow are like kava. Like, just instead of having a beer at the end of the day, you can sit down with your friends and have a kava, and it's a root. They call it the root of happiness. It's just kind of like one of those things that kind of makes you uplifted and feeling happy. I grow a lot of gotu kola just because my parents have vascular problems, and it's really good for your veins. If you have spider veins, you start eating gotu kola. The gotu kola will fix the valves in your veins that cause the pooling of blood that cause those spider veins, and it works pretty quick, and it's good for your heart. As well as garlic. Dad was taking a lot of heart medicine, and these medicines were just thinning his blood out, and they weren't really doing anything to repair the damage. But garlic not just it'll thin your blood out like the medicine, but it'll also help repair your heart, and it strengthens your blood. And I think the main thing we try and put in all of our stuff here is like a prebiotic and probiotic. When we build the soil, it makes such a good prebiotic probiotic that if there's a bad fungus that gets into our garden, so somebody walks in there with bad fungus on their shoes, our good fungus will attack it, and there's substantially more of the good than the bad, so it wins out just about every time.
Wow. Yeah, I even saw that on a video that you had made. You were giving your chickens fermented food, and I had never heard that chickens do really well with fermented food.
Yeah, fermentation. If you're looking for bioavailability of minerals, especially for us, it's way better. And with chickens have an extremely short digestive tract, so the food's fermented. It's like a pre-digestion. I mean, when we eat food, it basically has to almost ferment in our stomach to be broken down to a molecular level where our intestinal lining can absorb those nutrients. So when we ferment the food for the chickens, they love the flavor, and it makes it a lot more bioavailable to them to actually use it better. And then instead of giving them antibiotics, I hate that we give animals so many antibiotics. Like now, if you buy feed for your animals, or if you buy vitamins, the vitamins are mostly antibiotics. And if we have a problem that needs antibiotics, we would use just oregano oil, put a little bit of that in their water, and it acts the same way, and it doesn't have the effects that antibiotics have. And the antibiotic effect isn't just for the animals; it's for everybody. We may develop diseases that are so much more dangerous than COVID just because we have an antibacterial resistant virus, something that we've used bacteria or antibiotics so often. These viruses and bacteria keep changing because the antibiotics killed 99%, but that 1% lives becomes a super bug. And then we kill that super bug, and the 1% lives becomes a super bug. And the illnesses and bacteria and viruses, they can propagate faster than we can come up with a new antibiotic to stop them. And that could be very well one way that we destroy the world, is just through the overuse of antibiotics. I mean, it's just put into chicken food and cow food now because it fattens them up, and you can put them in conditions that are unhumane and unsanitary, and they'll still live through eating nothing but GMO feed and crap, really literally poo from other animals, and they'll still make a fat healthy, or not healthy, but a fat cut of meat.
Yeah, and that's why I think what you're doing is so incredible, and what people are looking for is that we've changed the biology of our world and the entire structure of society. And if you start becoming aware of, wow, we're living in a pretty toxic environment. I mean, for me, it was our elders got cancer. I started to see an explosion of immune diseases. I've got a kid as well, and you read these statistics that 56% of them are going to get a chronic illness that they're going to have to deal with for the rest of their life before they're 17. 1 in 2 people are getting cancer these days. And it's just like, wait a second, something's going on. It's the food that we're eating, the air that we're breathing, the water we're drinking, what we're building our homes out of, and how we're organizing our life. And a lot of people, they'll make a switch. I want to buy organic. Maybe they start thinking that, food is thy medicine, and let thy medicine be thy food. But they don't take the leap of saying, I'm going to go build an eco village and a food forest and a disc golf country club in Costa Rica.
It's tough, but once one person does that, it's like one person growing food. One person can make, a place for 100 families, and one farmer can grow food for 100 families. We don't need everybody. If we had 3% of people that tried to change the way we live and what we ate, I mean, people would see like, oh, these people eat this healthy food, don't have the autoimmune diseases. These people that use natural medicine don't have the side effects of those drugs that they're taking. I think it just takes a small percentage to show it, and then people will catch on. They'll see that there's a better way, and scientifically, people can test like what's the health like of people that take modern medicine versus people that take food as their medicine, as far as autoimmune immune diseases and cancer and leukemia. And if you look at where people live and what they're around, just by having a healthy environment, good food and clean water is, it's undoubtedly way better than living in a fog-filled city with dense populations too. I think when it comes to living, density makes a big difference. There's plenty of studies that show when you increase the population of people, or even rats in a system, violence goes up. All kinds of things that are negative go up when you increase the population. And really, nothing more positive happens when you put more and more people into a building or into a city. The benefits come when you give people more space outside and more time with nature. And I think that part of the environment's it's key.
Yes, preach. I mean, I'm driving with what you're saying, and I hope our listeners are tuning into this message, because there's some jewels and some nuggets of information and wisdom in there that I've gotten a lot out of this conversation. For our listeners, again, Justin Dolan is running the St. Michael Sustainable Community. Justin, I can't thank you enough for your time. This is just extremely energizing.
Yeah, I love to preach about regenerative agriculture and sustainability. So, anytime if your clients have a couple questions to follow up, you can get me anytime on my cell phone, and I'll be more than happy to let you know what I know, or go find it out for you.
Well, I'm gonna come play disc golf at your course, right, and come check out what you're doing, because that just sounds incredible.
Yeah, well, we'd love to host you. Come on down.
Okay, everybody, that is a wrap. This is another just great episode that I'm so glad that you're able to tune in. And thank you for being interested in regenerative real estate. What we are trying to do is help people and planet thrive together by using the built environment as a catalyst. And so I've got a couple big asks for you. Number one is, can you please go to wherever you're listening to this podcast, leave us a rating and review. Those actually go so far. And since this is such a passion project for us, we really want to be able to attract the best thought leaders from around the world. Second is that if you really like the content that we're putting out, you can find us on our own Medium publication called Regenerative Real Estate. We also have a very active community on Facebook, which is called Regenerative Real Estate and Design, which you can request to be a part of, and we would love to have you. And third, this goes to what we do every single day, helping buyers and sellers demystify sustainability by working with people that want to either buy a property and are trying to figure out the financing of, how do I actually live out my values? How do I put that water catchment system on there? Or how do I go finance a solar panel PV array? Or maybe I want to live closer to nature. And what are the properties that are out there that I can do that? And so we represent buyers like that. We also happen to represent sellers that maybe they've already invested in sustainable features. Maybe they have a living building or a LEED certified project. We want to help tell that story. So much of what goes on in the real estate industry is transactional thinking at best, and it translates down into agents just really don't know anything about sustainability. And for us, we think that the value is there, and we want to help highlight really the intrinsic value of it, not just the bedrooms and the baths and the square feet of what typical marketing goes on. So if you know of anybody that wants to buy or sell these kinds of properties that we're talking about, please reach out to us at Latitude, and be sure to subscribe for another great episode coming up next week.